Okay, good morning. I'm going to start. This is Bill Fritz. Appreciate you being here this morning. We are here in Cincinnati in our Sycamore office, Learn21 office. Kevin Gantos is here with me as well.
Morning.
And we also have John Canwell from Blackboard.
Good morning.
And we were able to have John coordinate with us for this webinar today. So when I talked to John and said, when you're coming in town, why don't we spend a little bit on future releases of Blackboard, what the roadmap looks like. And I also asked John to share with us a little bit about Service Pack 10. Before we get started, I want you to remind you that Sean put out an email, I think it was about a week ago, allowing you to log into a test server for Service Pack 10. So when we're going through this morning, you're welcome to give us a nudge or say if you need that email again or anything. Sean is your contact for that, and you can see some of this. We have a test box up with Service Pack 10. Kevin, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just also wanted to mention, as we're in the webinar, we have opened up the microphone so we can have up to 6 people talking. So as we go through this, I think we're open to having questions, so you can type those in the chat window, or if you just want to jump in and ask a question vocally, you can do that as well.
Okay, well, with that said, I'm going to hand the microphone over to John. Kevin's going to go ahead and start with what we're going to look at today with the agenda. Again, Blackboard future releases, current release as well, where we have Service Pack 10. One client is on Service Pack 10, and we're going to then look at a few other ideas here this morning, but the majority of it will be a little bit around this future releases in Service Pack 10. So John, let you start out. Kevin, if you advance the slide. And you may want to introduce yourself. I know some of the folks know you. Not all of them do.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being able to talk with you today. As I said, my name is John Canwell. I am your Blackboard Strategic Account Executive. So my work is to work only with K-12 clients across the United States, and I work with strategic accounts, which are our high profile, most important, and Learn21 is certainly at the top of that list. So it's always my pleasure to have an opportunity to work with Learn21. The things that you're doing here are incredible. So I'm glad we were able to tie together an update meeting that I had with the staff here and tie it with this meeting. Just a little background about me. I was a former Blackboard client. I spent 32 years working in Jeffco Public Schools outside of Denver, where my work was implementing online and other technology resources into a district of 160 schools. So just a little bit about that. My goal today is to really kind of give you just an overview of what's coming in Blackboard. Some of this is Service Pack 10, and some of this, quite frankly, is beyond Service Pack 10. And so I'm going to put a little disclaimer out there that some of the slides that you see are still prototype, still under development. So many of the slides that you see, especially Service Pack 10, will be very, very close to the actual product. But some of these also will be some future development, and but we always want people to kind of have an idea of where Blackboard is going. So the first thing you're going to notice in Service Pack 10 is we've changed the way that people access information. And, typically you have that front page, your announcements page, and all the different pieces. But we've worked over, if you'll notice in Service Pack, I think it was we started in 6. And then in 8, you started seeing some things, for example, such as profiles, the ability for you to start managing. And you had a little red button up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And quite frankly, a lot of people asked, what do we do with that? Because all you could do is set a profile. That little red button that you see, in this slide, you'll see where it says Sarah Johnson in the upper right-hand corner, and then in a red button 17, is going to be your new global navigation. So you'll still have all the other existing navigations. Nothing goes away, but we tried to simplify the ability for any user to know what's going on with current and with future. So for an example, in this slide, when Sarah logs on, she knows immediately that there are 17 things that she needs to pay attention to, new things that moves through. And so when she clicks on that button and pulls down, you're going to start seeing that you have some different pieces of information where it's starting to look in terms of your courses, how many messages do you have, teachers, what assignments need grading. For students, they will see the same thing about assignments that are coming due. So you're going to see this global navigation on the right in terms of a one-stop place where you can start putting some things together. Go to the next slide. And as Bill and Kevin said, at any time if there are questions, please stop us and we'll be happy to talk about these at any time. When you then click on this button and then expand it, you'll notice now you have an overview. So in the overview, you'll still see to that left with that gray bar, you still have some ideas of what are some things that are necessary, but you'll notice you have what is past due, what's due today, what's coming up, trying to make it simpler in one place. And you'll notice it's not just by course. In the past, you could see what's coming up in a course and moving, but this is aggregating all the information. So you'll notice in terms of what's due this week, there are 3 things coming up. They may be in one course or they may be in multiple courses. You'll see information over on the right in terms of what has been recently graded. So we're trying to aggregate to you the most important information in a simple format and context. You'll also have, you'll see on the right the new messages. The ability for messaging and social learning has also been expanded, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Social learning is something that many people have been talking about for a long time, and quite frankly, what I've seen in many cases, we took our time of making sure that when we did social learning, we did it right. We've seen some examples of some learning management systems throwing social learning in without really thinking about how it works in K-12. I don't think you want a full-blown Facebook in your K-12 environment. It certainly opens up doors. So our focus has been to make sure that we bring a social learning experience into the environment, but make sure it's very focused on the work of teaching and learning. So this is where your profile pops up. You certainly can, put some information about who you are. You can add pictures. It will start identifying. You can also then make some decisions about who you can interface with. And one of the recommendations that we're having right now for all K-12 clients is, and certainly you can aggregate this through your roles, that we're recommending that you start with adults and do social learning at the adult level. Make sure you understand the tool, that you're very comfortable about how social learning is working before you start turning on with students, because that certainly opens up a huge can of worms. And we're continuing to modify the product to make sure it's going to meet every one of those needs. So as you're looking at social learning, my recommendation is that as you start talking about this, you maybe look at this from an environment of who you want to work with. From the social learning environment, this is up at what's called the cloud. And the part of our development is we're changing our development structure. A lot of Blackboard has been very server-based, and so things reside on your Blackboard server. Many of these new features and developments are coming from the cloud and are going to come from a building block approach. So quite frankly, we're going to be able to now start delivering product updates almost monthly, so in a much more robust environment. But the social learning actually sits up in the cloud. So you would be able to interface with people in your courses. You'd be able, if you want, to expand that to people in your district and school. You could also expand that to Learn21. And quite frankly, you can expand that social learning environment to the Blackboard community, which opens up some interesting doors about when you want to start collaborating with peers across the K-12 network, as well as interfacing with peers at the higher ed level. So the idea of how you start interfacing and how you move that, you will have those options to open up information. And you'll see later about messaging, different types of pieces will be built in for more collaboration.
John, I just had a question, and maybe there's some others out there that have this question. With the social learning piece, is it or can it be closed down to just my institution that I'm thinking about kids? What if they do open it up to kids?
Right.
Where do they get to do this social networking? Can they send messages just within
right.
our environment?
That's the piece that we're working on right now. The answer is yes, with a qualified yes, in terms of the existing product today. Users can set that level of who they're interfacing with. So they could say, I only want to work with people in my courses. I only want to work with people in my school or beyond, but that is user-generated. We are working on the development, that, especially at the K-12, for that to be a default and a hard code that you could say across the Learn21 environment, students may only interface with blank, maybe people in their courses or in their school. So the option exists in there, but you cannot hard code it down and force it on users. So that's why we're saying at this point, stick with adults. That topic has been brought up and it's under development, but it's not in this release that you'll see on the package today. Good question.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Other things you'll see in the social learning, again, some of the different things that people will be able to create. Another thing is called spaces. You've had organizations for a long time, the ability for people to form into common groups, and many people develop professional learning communities out of that. Organizations have to be centrally managed. And so if you want to pull together an organization, I'm assuming you put in a service ticket and someone creates that organization and has to put all the pieces together. Spaces are the ability for people just to create a quick little, their own group, that they don't need to go through the system administration. So it could be a study group. It could just be a group of teachers who want to get together and talk about a topic. So it's a very quick on the fly, not the same as an organization, but would give that same ability that you could create spaces and the ability for different people to collaborate on a more informal level. Organizations will still exist and still will continue. This is another layer of collaboration.
Now, do spaces exist in Service Pack 10? Or
yes, spaces do exist in Service Pack 10.
I was just going to ask, maybe we should, as we go through these jobs,
yes,
for folks who want to, or on our
what level?
Day or want to, what level that we're talking about, so when they do jump in, or they want to be converted to Service Pack 10, they kind of know where those pieces are.
So everything we're seeing in the front is Service Pack 10, and then at a later point we're going to jump beyond Service Pack 10, and I'll let you know that's future development.
Okay.
Now, some of the components in Service Pack 10, quite frankly, and again, this is where this new development feature is a little more fuzzy, because we're not only releasing things in service packs, we're also releasing them as building blocks. And so some features will actually be available in Service Pack 10 as a building block, for example, next month or in January. So to be more innovative and be more robust with development also kind of has us rethink about how we think about development of service packs, and it's not just twice a year innovation, it's going to be a month to month. So you'll see some of these things will be in Service Pack 10, but will be released maybe, for example, next month. Okay. Integrated text messaging is a new feature. Actually, that is in Service Pack 9. And so in the past, you've had the ability to, when you want to communicate to your course and send out a message, you've had that ability to interface with email. And we certainly know that email is one method of communication, but with many students and staff, quite frankly, we've all moved to different environments. So this is where our connections and our interfaces with other Blackboard products is starting to pay off. Taking advantage of Blackboard Connect, which is a mass messaging system, we've been able to take a lot of that technology, pull it into Learn. And so at no extra charge, you now have the ability beyond just email and pushing to your mobile device. All mobile, you can push announcements also. But now you can also send out messages to SMS as well as text to voice. And that is at no charge. And you can go ahead and turn that on, and then different people can say, when I want these messages, I would prefer it to be a text message. Now, when you go to text messaging, you have to make sure you understand that's normal text messaging, no charge for the organization. But if somebody has a text messaging plan that charges, you have to start thinking about that. But those are now options that you can build. Two-way messaging is an option. This is only one way to push out, but if you want the ability for people then to reply back, either through the phone or through instant messaging, there is the ability to buy bundles of messages, and so you can just buy a bundle of 1,000 or 10,000 messages that if you really needed it, people then could reply back. So if you have the full-blown Blackboard Connect interface, you get everything blown, but this brings some of that features and functionality to Learn.
The question I had is, John, too, when you look at integrated text messaging, the levels of doing that, is that and I have not explored this, so is that where I turn it on at the course level for a teacher to do that, and I give that teacher the liberty to do that, and then they writing off of where are they getting that information, the phone number, is it, if I've already pre-populated that information with the student data, is it showing up there? So some of those enterprise features, how do I use that?
Those features, again, are pulling out of the information that's in Blackboard. Typically, that information should be coming out of your student information system. So in addition to just their email address that you've done in the past, if you want to take advantage of this, you would also want to know their mobile number if you want to do messaging, as well as a number if you want text to voice. So those would be features that you would bring from your integration from an SIS, and then Blackboard can take advantage of that and pull it. So you would turn it on. You'll see in this screen over here, you could actually turn it on, and then users could actually say, for this message, I would like a text message or an SMS. But all of that data should be fed in your normal data feeds on your users.
And I wanted to say to the people out there that from watching other Blackboard webinars, they've said that I have to place a support call with Blackboard to get this feature turned on for each server. So if your district is interested in turning on, being able to push out text messages, just let me know and I'll get those tickets taken care of.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Okay. An updated content editor. This has been a long-standing feature that we have heard from clients for a long time, that our HTML content editor existed, but it was not adequate, and it was not what we expected for our users. So we have completely revamped this, and so we have a full-blown HTML text editor that will be coming. For an example, this is a building block. This will be released as a building block as part of Service Pack 10, and I believe this will be available in December, so sometime this following month. A couple of features that you'll see into this. First of all, a much more rich, and you folks that are really good HTML people are going to be beyond me on this one. It supports HTML5, I believe, so it takes that robust feature. One of the features that's been a real issue before, a lot of people like to actually do their development in Microsoft Word. And so they like to do their writing in Word and then copy it over. And that did not work very well. This supports full copy, drag, and drop from Word. So you could do all of your layouts in Word, including graphics, everything you want to do, and just copy it and drop it right into this, and it's now completely interfaceable. So it brings those features. You can click on this and go to a full screen editor. So you're not limited to just this little tiny box. And so if you want to bring it up as a full-blown, almost like a separate application to do your development, that fits. It supports many more features, so you have a much more robust feature. Another thing, I don't think I have a slide on this, that will be incorporated into this will be the math editor. The math editor has been problematic for people in the past. And math teachers have had challenges with it. So rather than fix the math editor, we put a brand new math editor in, the state-of-the-art math editor that is out there. I think it's from Weiss. And this supports all those features. One example, in the past, once you had an equation in there, and if you wanted to edit it, you really needed to redo the equation. A teacher now can just open up that equation at any point and correct it. Students, though, the way this technology works, the students, because it doesn't want to load a whole Java applet every time a math equation comes up, what students see, it just brings it down as an item. For teachers, it will actually bring up the whole Java applet so they can do the editing. So they get the best of both worlds. Teachers get the full robustness, but teachers don't have any load, or students don't have any load on the system. So you'll see a full-blown math editor in addition to that. Assessments. We've now updated the ability for, in terms of fill in the blank, that you can now have what's called a pattern match. So in the past, when you had to fill in the blank, you almost had to put every possible answer that they could put in because it was an actual matching, looking for the answers. So now you can actually put in pattern matching and put in that in terms of look for these key concepts or these key letters or words in here. So definitely opens up the ability for your assessments in terms of fill in the blank to be much better. Question? Oh, okay. Item analysis. We also have built-in item analysis for all teachers and staff. And so item analysis is the ability to go in, take a look at a question, and actually see how well it differentiated between students who did well on the entire assessment and students who did not do well. And so this is a tool that your assessment people have been using for years. You now have this ability right in there. When you hear about high test validity and reliability in an assessment, that's where these things come from. And so your ability to look at questions, you'll see for an example in this breakdown right here, there are 2 questions that are red flagged right now that have questionable reliability. Now, that is just information. You can do whatever you want with it, but you can start looking into it and seeing was it a good question? Was it a good question? Were the answers good? And the really nice feature of this, if you find that you had a bad question, you now can tie that back to the feature that we added in Service Pack 6, which was automatic regrading. So if you see a question afterwards that really was not a good question, according to item analysis, you can go right into that question in your grade book, remove the question, delete the question, and actually say, Blackboard, go back and regrade every assessment, every student's test. And so you don't have to do anything. It's a quick way to make sure that if you have a question in there, that your questions are the best possible. Okay?
Can we talk about this just for a minute, John? Sure. As we look at item analysis, is there ways that you can pull some of this data out at this point? I'm thinking, is it important to us to pull some of this data out and use that data from the item analysis?
Are we on? We are. Okay, we lost our mic here. I don't know if it can be pulled centrally. Again, all this data in the database, the Blackboard database is open anyway. So could the data come out? Yes. At what level? I think the item analysis right now is more designed at the individual question level, but we'll have to explore the ability of whether it could be pulled at a organizational level to look at questions across the board. But if you have an assessment, a common assessment that is going across all of those, again, that it could, I'm sure it could do that for you. Okay?
Thank you.
New calendar. Again, I think, quite frankly, the calendar in Blackboard was a calendar. It was not a good calendar, and people, quite frankly, didn't use it very much. So we've completely rebuilt the calendar. Again, this will be a building block that comes down as a separate item that people can install. This calendar will have more of the features you've always wanted in terms of a true calendar. You certainly can break by, different classes you're in, courses you're in. When a teacher creates an assignment in a course, it can flow right over into the calendar. You can, for example, a really nice feature of integration, if a teacher wants to change the date of an assessment, they could go into their calendar, just drag the assessment to another date, and it will go back into the course itself and realign that assessment as well as everybody else's calendars. And so it's a much more interactive calendar that you can face. It will interface with other calendars. So you can take this calendar and have it interface back into your Outlook or into your Google Calendar or other features. So if you want this being ported over into your personal calendar, this information can easily now interface back. And so you can use the Blackboard calendar for more robust features, but you can also then bring it back into your organizational or personal calendar and interface that. You'll also notice, though, in this calendar, you can have a personal calendar in addition to those. And then you can sort those. You can say, I only want to look at biology, or I only want to look at certain pieces. So it's a much more robust calendar with better features. One of the things we've heard about is it'll actually fill in the box more, where people in the past had just put like the first 8 letters which usually, for most cases, was useless for people. So we're getting good feedback right now that this is a calendar that actually works much better for the way people need. Course evaluations, enterprise surveys is a new tool that's coming. You've always been able to put a survey within your course and put that in place. This brings that feature and functionality to a higher level. You can now put a survey out across an entire enterprise, and so you could send this out to the entire Learn21 environment, or you could send it out to your district or within your school. So you have the ability to create surveys, send them out. You could then interface, because it's part of Blackboard, you could easily send it to everybody in a course, or you could send it to all teachers who are in Blackboard. In addition to that, you can go beyond that and send it to non-Blackboard users using their email address. So you would have that same functionality as like a SurveyMonkey or some other types of features. So you can, and then it can aggregate. If it knows it's a Blackboard user, it'll actually use that very same information about when you're doing the reporting. If it goes beyond that to external. But if you want to survey your community, you want to survey parents, if you want to go back for anything, this is a full-blown enterprise survey. Questions can be saved, and you can do tracking over time. And I think the next slide.
Yes. I just want to say this is something where, John, we have a few of us across the Learn21 space are using Parent Portal, and using it in a way where parents log in, they see grades, they see courses, and they log in with their email address and they put all their information in there. I think, Kevin, this could be a good tool where you could piggyback off of all those parents that are in the system to extend out to them. So when you're thinking about the work that you have to do to extend beyond the walls of your Blackboard environment, which is loading up email addresses and having those email addresses first to load up, you now have, and some of us have a direct connection with that. If they're using Parent Portal, they can piggyback off that data.
So does this component act, is this a building block piece that we would have to add to Service Pack 10? Or is this one of the pre-built?
I believe this is in 10.
In 10, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good. No, that's good. You were going to, I interrupted you, but you were going to go to
the next slide will show you an example. In addition to just a survey out, you get some pretty good analytics tools into that. So you can certainly do some tracking, some great reports. It's a pretty good, robust, self-standing survey tool. So a lot of people that have been investing in external survey tools because they needed to go beyond the survey of a course in Blackboard, you now have this built into your tool at no additional cost. Again, a value add for the cost that you're already using for Blackboard. So we're trying to add that functionality that you don't need to continue to buy additional tool sets. You can use your one core tool set. Okay, this is where yes, sir.
I asked John to talk about Explore. As we as a group have been thinking about where do we move with digital learning objects or digital objects or a repository of objects so that I can have my hands on. I asked John to kind of share with us this morning a little bit about where's Blackboard thinking on this whole page. And so this piece called Explore is what John's going to spend some time on. So I think it's in its infancy.
Yes.
But I think we're all trying to look down the road. We're all not really quite ready yet, fully engaged, but this is a good opportunity for us to discuss where we're going.
And for the disclaimer, as we said before, this is now future development. So this is not Service Pack 10. This is future development. This, I will put the other piece of information because people always ask, how much is this going to cost? This costs nothing. This is an extension of your content, your content component of Blackboard, which you already subscribe to. So some Blackboard users do not subscribe to the content component. This would be an additional charge if they went there. But since you already have the content, this is, again, new development that will go beyond. The content system will still continue to exist. We're not replacing it. And you'll see where this is a different use than that piece. But this will be a no-charge addition to any user that has content management. The idea of content management has been a great conversation, at least in my time at Blackboard for the past 2.5 years, and even I think a good year before that, lots of conversations in the K-12 world about content. Blackboard, we are unique in that we are content agnostic. We don't do content. And so there are some companies out there that bundle their content and their platform together and use this content with this platform. It's our belief that we provide an agnostic platform that can work with any kind of content, but we don't actually prescribe what your math content should be. We believe that that is the role of a K-12 institution and or other companies that really specialize in math content. And so we also believe that you don't need one solution. In K-12, most of you are probably already mixing and matching content in face-to-face courses. And so we don't believe in a one-size-fits-all proprietary solution. So the whole idea of content has been going on for a long time. And I know Bill has been a big advocate for the past two and a half years that I've known him about this idea of how do we start getting to a collaborative environment around sharing content. How do we really think about the idea about what content is and how could K-12 users really work together and really help shaping our vision that, quite frankly, digital content is going to be a combination of that vendor subscribed content like textbooks. Another level will be vendor content that is more just individual content pieces. As well as, and that's with our partnerships, for example, Learning.com, as well as this whole idea of, especially in the K-12 environment, the user-generated content is huge. The amount of courses that are being developed out in the K-12 environment are huge, as well as individual learning objects. And we need to start tapping into this if we're going to address these challenges of meeting Common Core standards and at the same time doing it with reduced budgets. So this is really a wonderful open door. Explore is an environment that we've been working on a learning object repository for a long time. So that's where the LOR comes in. And, quite frankly, Blackboard had been working on a learning object repository for the past few years, trying to make it better than what we had in the content system. And through our mergers and acquisitions, in this case, it came from our acquisition with Moodle Rooms. We found that they were also under development with a great learning object repository. And we found that, quite frankly, their development was really, we liked what they were developing. So this is an example, again, of combining resources, and rather than building individual learning object repositories for each platform, building one that sits up in the cloud that can work across platforms. So that's why this has come very quickly, quite frankly, in terms of learning object repository development, because we're able to tap into it. The XP for Explore stands for cross-platform. And the idea of this, it sits in the cloud, and it can work across different platforms. So your content system is really kind of determined right now. It works within your Blackboard environment. You can share resources, but you can only share resources within your Blackboard server and environment. It makes it very difficult, for example, to jump across other organizations. This sits up in the cloud, so your Blackboard environment is going to look up into another environment where different users could share information with other different users. And again, this will go beyond just Learn21. You would also have this ability to share across all K-12 environments, and also some interesting conversations going on right now around how could we interface with K-12 or with higher ed around some things, and tapping into some resources. So this idea that there is commercial learning environments coming from vendors from different places, such as Kaltura, NBC Learn, Pearson. The Khan Academy is a major developer, a partner working with this. But in addition to that is that huge user-created environment. And so that's really the role of Explore. What you'll see in Explore, the idea of a learning object is different than in your content system. Really, all your content system is a file. So I could have a video, or I could have a document, or I could have a picture, and I can put that in the content system, and I can share it. The problem is typically you want to do more with that document, and you want to embed instructions around it. You want to embed an assessment around it. You want to embed another assignment. So a learning object is typically that thing that you build in Learn as a component of your course. And so it involves a lot more than just an object, a file. So your learning object gets into much more detail. So if you wanted to share that entire activity, so that involves the file, the instructions, the assessment, the alignment to content standards, all these different pieces, that could be bundled into a learning object, put into Explorer, and then that could be shared across. When somebody opens it, they get all of that. They wouldn't have to rebuild it. So that's the big difference between a content system and a learning object repository.
I think, John, that's the power underneath this, that I could build that standard learning object with the standards attached to it.
Correct.
And we're not all in silos now building these objects. We're actually have some maybe consistency around what we're building together and sharing. So that I really think this has an opportunity for us as a consortium to share a lot of content out. We would have to do some work around what we believe are some standards that we all want to adhere to. So when we know that that's a good learning object, it would be interesting to see if the people are going to start rating as you show up there with the little stars. It's just, how do you like this learning object, which is great. I mean,
right.
You know, that'll prove it out. So
yeah, the ratings are built in there. You'll notice in terms of your filters right now. First of all, with this, you don't have to share everything in there. You can put something into Explorer and it's yours, and it's just yours. But you could reuse it in other environments. So don't believe that everything you put into Explorer the world is going to take. When you put something into Explorer, you make rules about who can share it. So you could say that it's for me only, it's for just these 5 teachers, it's for the Learn21 Consortium, or the world. And at the same time, when you search, you would have that ability to search on anything that goes out there. But you'll notice, again, you could look for standards. So you could search on learning objects by content standards. You could do them by tagging, and so that will open up a huge issue about teaching teachers how to properly tag items. One of the things we've heard a lot of people talk about is contributor. I know, for example, when I go to a conference, a lot of times I'll look at who the presenter is, sometimes more than the title of the presentation, because I just know that some people are really good and they always have good information. So you'll be able to also know that this comes from, you know, this person who typically, or this organization or this group, that typically has great stuff. In addition to that, even though you can rate them, we're asking that to be one of the filters that's coming in future development, will be that I'm only looking for 4-star, just like you would a restaurant, and I'm looking for things that are 4-star rated according to these content standards. So it's going to open up a whole new world. A lot of people are a little concerned about the ratings, but it's kind of the real world of if other teachers don't like your content, that's one of the issues of rating. So you have the ability to go out, search in standards. We do use copyright in terms of this is in collaboration with Creative Commons. So automatically you can put your copyrights right on there through Creative Commons and have that built in. So we've really thought this thing through about how that fits. Find your learning object. Okay. As you're getting it, you'll notice there are different things in terms of some pages, some files, how you add that in. For when you add your learning object into your course, it'll be no different than right now that when you add any other type of item into there. It would show up as an item, but again, your assessments would come in, everything would come in as a package. Another interesting thing on a learning object, a full-blown course can be a learning object. You can bundle an entire course as a learning object. And some of the prototypes that I've seen, when you open up that course, it will open up the courses in a table format, and you could say, I want this. You could then pick and choose the topics you want. So I think that's really going to open up, especially when vendors start participating. It's almost like getting a textbook and saying, I want chapters 1, 7, and 14, and building that in. So you're going to have that ability to mix and match. As items come in, you'll see they come in as a full-blown item, and that'll fit in. Okay, to other things coming down the pike real quickly. Inline grading. When you're grading papers and assignments, the assignment will actually pop up, and you'll be able to grade that in line. You won't have to actually have 2 windows open. It'll open up a window right there for you. And that feature will also be available in the mobile app. And so if you're grading an assignment in your mobile app, you'll be able to look at that assignment. Discussion forums are one of the challenges we've heard in discussion forums. As the discussion forum grows, you lose track of what the initial question or topic was, and so those will be locked in that you'll always be able to see at the top of the initial piece. Video everywhere is a new component that we're doing in partnership with YouTube, the ability to capture live video right in your content editor. You'll have a video anywhere, and you could record a video comment. In addition to that, you could also save your video comments and make them as part of a library. Many teachers are starting to look at the idea of this being a quick tutorials, quick ideas. You know that you have a lot of students struggling with a math equation, you could build a tutorial. And the last one, I believe, is your retention center, which will be a new feature is coming out that allow teachers and administrators to really take a look at which students are on that bubble, which ones are showing the risk indicators of failure, and be able to track them very quickly about who's falling behind, who is not logged in, move them over into a watch list, have much more information about those students who are showing high risk indicators.
Yeah. And I just want to thank you, John, we brought you this morning. We got you going right away to share all this information about Service Pectin and beyond. And I wanted to make sure that if there's anyone online that had a question now, or if you feel as though you have a question even later in the presentation, you can just put it in the chat window. I know Arlene has a question there. Is the video piece Service Pectin or future? And I agree, it's future. But I like it as well, Arlene. I get an indication you like it, and if you have another question there or not, yeah. How far, John, in the future?
Near future. How about that? The things that I'm showing you right now, we believe, and again, product development can always change a bit, but you will see these my gut within the next 6 months. Anything that's not in Service Pectin should be future development. They'll be coming down the pike. So within the next 6 months, if not, definitely within the next year. But these are actual down the road in development right now.
And that is, Brian had a question there, retention as well?
Correct.
Okay, great. I know that the video piece piqued my ears as well when we talked about it before the webinar this morning. That's something I've heard some folks ask about as well. So a lot there that we just gave you, a lot of that to digest. We'll continue to have Danny turn around and share little snippets of this with you, as we have one client that's on Service Pectin that was a fresh install here. Cincinnati State STEM Academy is actually using Service Pectin. They just started. Sean will be reaching out to you about Service Pectin when you want to do this. This webinar is being recorded, so we will share that out after we're done today, so you can share it out with other folks about Service Pectin, or you want to go back and listen to those pieces. But like I said, Danny will be sharing some of that and continue to explain to you when those future releases are coming up. I had a few things this morning that I really wanted to share with you that I'd like to get your feedback on, and I'm going to be kind of really focusing on the next month to 2 months. One of them is course content. If you recall from our last webinar, and back in June, we purchased 12 courses, and I put them up there in what I call round one as a group. There were the 8 districts along the bottom there on the slide that had purchased these courses together and have them available to them. We have had some folks say to us already, are we interested in doing this again, or can I purchase in round one? Yes to both of those questions. Yes, we are going to be going to round 2, and I'll talk about that here in a second in the next slide. But if you are interested in participating in using any of those courses that are up there, from the AP Psych down to the Psych Sociology, you're welcome to do that, and just give me a holler, and I can help make that happen. The next slide is just some of the requests that I've heard from people. People have shared with me that they're interested in possibly in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, economics, Fit for Life, philosophy, even a Spanish 1 or 2 courses. So what I'd like you to do for me is either give me feedback now or offline. Share this with your curriculum instruction folks or other folks in your district that you think are interested in additional courses. I'm going to actually put together a survey in December. You'll be seeing that come out that'll ask some of these exact questions. What I'd like to look at is if we're going to move forward, maybe that's a purchase and installation in early 2013. And what I would do is I would want to get a group of people who are very engaged in looking at these courses and saying, as Becky, you just asked, are they BSN courses or are they Aventa courses? They could be a combination, as we had before, and I'd like to get your feedback on that. I don't want to be the one, as Bill, making the decision. I'd really like to hear what we want to focus on. Maybe that's 5 or 6 courses, and then we put together a group that says, all right, let's roll up our sleeves and look at who has the better course, and we evaluate them together. We did a little bit of that when we did that first purchase in June. So, and I know that that's just a starter list that I've heard. That's not the end all, so please give me some feedback on that, and you'll see that through a survey. Questions or comments about that, put them in the chat window. One other piece that I just want a reminder, you also have a number of Microsoft courses available to you if you're not already using them or you want to use them with your staff, or maybe you're teaching in the high school or junior high level, you're teaching some of these courses and you want to allow one of the instructors or teachers in your district to use this content. It's available to you. There is no cost to do this. So just throw that slide back out just as a reminder. One other piece that I wanted to talk about here in the next slide is, what about an online summer school for Learn21 sponsored, or Learn21 supported, I should say, summer school? It's an idea that, if Kevin, you go to the next slide, it's an idea that I've had some questions about as well, and I'm going to explore. These are 2 areas that I shared with you about the course content. Another area I'm going to explore, and I'm not trying to step on anyone's area in their district if they're already doing this. I have just gotten some feedback from some school districts or some folks that have said, we're thinking about doing something for online summer, and we really maybe want to do it in a collaborative way. And as I share in this slide, it's an opportunity for us to share our resources. Maybe you have a teacher that is doing health online already, and I have a district that I know of, or we have a district in the Learn21 membership that needs online health and doesn't have an online health. I'm going to make a very pointed effort, intentional effort to try to collaborate or give us opportunities to collaborate through possibly an online summer school. What does that look like? I don't have all the answers, but maybe we're using existing course content, like we have those 12 courses we purchased together. Maybe we're offering an AP philosophy, or excuse me, psychology, or maybe we're offering pre-calc or online health. So I'd like you to share that with district administration. I'm going to put together a special webinar in December just to talk about online summer school. And I think it's important to do that in December, as I know if you really back map, we're doing most of us are thinking about summer already. I'm already thinking about next fall. And our C&I people, our administration, a lot of times are thinking, let's plan for summer school now or in the next few months. And so it kind of coordinates and it kind of hooks together with, if we're going to purchase some additional courses, you want to get those courses in, evaluate them, have them ready to go, if you do want to use them even in an online summer program. And then what would Learn21's place be in all of this? Not to deliver the content itself, but possibly we're brokering an opportunity to say, what's a good online teacher look like? Are we making sure the kids are getting in there and they're logged in correctly? Is it working correctly? Daily, is it up and running? Making sure that we're being intentional and you have a quality of service to deliver that, and you have a quality of service with possibly a teacher we all agreed upon, and the content we agreed upon, and that we're all in the loop and we can help it be a success. So just those thoughts. I don't know, we're almost out of time, and I want to be sensitive to your time. I want to just throw that out. I know Fran has I have a list of courses we will be interested in purchasing. So thank you, Fran, for the feedback on that. So you'll see that. I know Stacy from Medina is not online today. She's at a training, and she shared with me that they're interested in some courses as well. So again, keep that in mind, those 2 pieces, content and online summer school. And I think we have one more slide here, Kevin. Just a reminder, March 4th is our conference. I have a link that I'm going to be sharing with the advisory board that is for proposals. If I hadn't already sent that to you, I'll be sharing out a link if you're interested, or if you have a teacher in your district that you say are doing some fabulous work around blended or engaging digital content or sharing, and how do they do those lessons in Blackboard effectively, please share that link with them. It's a proposal link that they can actually share a session at the Learn21 Conference. And I'll have more about that, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. Any questions or comments or thoughts that the audience has out there for John, for Kevin, or myself? Or Sean. Sean's online, I believe, as well. Becky mentioned exciting times. It is. I think what's great about this is that we have so many people that are at different levels and are nudging us in different places. It's exciting to allow and see how collaboration has really been really helpful for all of us. I thought that was maybe Sean. No, Sean. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being on the call today. It's 9:24. I know we're done a little early, but again, I want to thank John for being in our office today and sharing with Service Pectin. We'll be in constant communication with you about all of these items and the other 2 additional ones that I've talked about this morning. So thank you. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk to you soon.